On her 17th birthday, Jenny slipped out of her dress. Amidst the intoxicating glitter of a foreign land, she gave herself to a wealthy older man. Back then, she did not yet know that every gift bestowed by fate had already been marked with a hidden price. The body she surrendered, the feelings she offered, would one day return as stinging slaps that would never let her lift her head again. Like every romantic encounter, Jenny, on a storm-lashed evening, crossed paths with the man who would bring her endless pain. At the time, she still carried her parents' hopes, a dutiful student preparing for Oxford. London's fickle weather left her cello drenched in rain. And so David, witty and charming, stepped into her world. David was unlike any man Jenny had ever met. Neither as timid as her peers nor as tyrannical as her father. He respected Jenny's tastes and even knew of her love for classical music. With the excuse of worrying for her cello, he escorted her home. His courteous words deepened the smile on her face. Jenny spoke of her father's disdain for music and of the dullness of life, unaware of the man's watchful gaze upon her. A brief exchange was enough for David to discern her world. The seasoned hunter had already laid his ambush, while the naive prey still thought it was destiny. A bouquet at the concert, a chance encounter on the street. David used adult tenderness to soothe her restless heart. Seeing the yearning in her eyes, David knew the moment had come. He invited Jenny to a concert, promising to bring friends so she would lower her guard. He even visited her home to ease her father's suspicion. And her usually domineering father was persuaded in just a few words to let her stay out late. Jenny grew ever more certain of her choice. David was, indeed, a man of undeniable charm. At the concert, Jenny met David's friends, Danny and his girlfriend, Helen. Seeing Helen's lavish dress, Jenny was filled with envy. But Helen, indifferent, told her casually, "If you like it, just tell David, he'll buy it for you." Jenny felt a flicker of temptation. She cast a furtive glance at David, but forced her heartbeat back into silence. After all, nothing between them was yet defined. In her simple attire, Jenny seemed out of place in the opulent restaurant. Yet what touched her most was that David and his friends never minded. They spoke of Paris, of great musicians, of priceless paintings, teasing the world of youth. Jenny was intoxicated by the prosperity painted in fragments of words, astonished that David seemed to match her tastes so completely. Never noticing Danny and Helen's fleeting stiffness, Jenny thought she had found a soulmate. But she did not know David was only using wit and experience to lower himself into her world. And if he so wished, there could be countless Jennys surrendering to this calculated sense of destiny. When Jenny returned home, it was already past midnight. Her mother was still fussing over a burnt stew pot. The bitterness of reality kept reminding Jenny that life's essence was not bright lights and music. Yet Jenny could no longer find peace. In class, she recounted her romantic encounter. The envy in her classmates' eyes made her glow with pride, and the glowing remarks on her schoolwork seemed to prove that she could balance both study and love. At least, that was what Jenny believed at the time. Stepping into the luxury car waiting at the school gate, Jenny followed David to an auction, casually calling out astronomical sums. Each number thrilled her senses. She relished the intoxicating game of wealth. At least it was far more exciting than the monotony of school. Unwittingly, Jenny's ambitions drifted away from Oxford. Her rapidly declining grades were the clearest proof. Once an Oxford hopeful of the highest rank, now she struggled just to pass. When her father discovered this, he was furious, complaining of the costly tutoring fees. Jenny, however, was unmoved. If life was only bickering over a few pounds, where was the romance in that? Yet she could not openly defy her father and returned to the classroom's weary grind. Just as Jenny thought she would sink into quiet resignation, David reappeared. He not only charmed Jenny's parents into laughter but spun a lie about visiting an Oxford professor, convincing them to let Jenny accompany him to Oxford. Before the trip, Helen dressed her in exquisite clothes, transforming her into a vision of maturity. Jenny was stunned by the refined figure in the mirror, especially after glimpsing the plain, rigid Oxford students. She felt more certain that the place did not suit her taste. And there, too, 16-year-old Jenny spent her first night away from home. She told David she would save her passage into womanhood for her 17th birthday. David seemed unsurprised and, like a gentleman, helped her back into her clothes, as though agreeing to her decision. From that moment, they broke the veil of ambiguity, becoming lovers. No Oxford tour, no meeting of eminent professors, none of it mattered to Jenny. She even helped David forge a signature to pacify her father. Until she saw, with her own eyes, David and Danny, when they stole a priceless map from an old man's home. Jenny finally realized David's wealth was built on theft. She understood that her lover might be a man without limits in pursuit of money. Jenny was furious. Yet David told her to choose between dull Latin texts or the concerts and fine dining of high society. Jenny hesitated, for vague justice paled before tangible pleasure. And once more, she fell into David's arms. Her 17th birthday arrived as she had longed for. The boy who secretly admired her and her father both gifted her dull Latin dictionaries. David arrived with a mountain of gifts. The boy, sensible, quietly withdrew. David seized the chance to propose a trip to Paris. Her father, worried about the cost, tried to forbid it, but when David promised to pay for everything, her father reluctantly allowed this breach of propriety. In the Paris she had dreamed of, Jenny gave herself to David. They strolled the streets, basking in the twilight glow. The leisurely romance struck squarely at Jenny's vanity. Her essays, riddled with errors, her grades bleeding red, could not rouse her from the intoxication of excess. When her teacher refused the perfume she offered, Jenny retorted, mocking the teacher's rigidity. As Jenny wavered between Oxford and indulgence, David proposed to her, thinking of endless Latin and tedious assignments. Jenny felt a rush of liberation. What surprised her even more was her father's eager approval. He declared it was thanks to his good upbringing that his clever daughter had been chosen by a family of such discernment. 10 years of study, only to marry, Jenny found it absurd, yet did not argue. As long as she was free from the burden of study, as long as she could go on indulging in pleasure, as long as she remained the one who benefited, there was no reason to object. The ring on Jenny's finger caused a storm in class. Her teachers said this was not the right value. The headmistress called it absurd, for Jenny had once been their most promising student. To be ruined like this was a tragedy. The headmistress and teachers still wanted to give her a chance, to see her finish her studies, earn her degree, then decide on marriage. But Jenny was unmoved. She believed that people without worth, even with a degree, could achieve nothing of meaning. After defying the headmistress, Jenny quit school, for to her, the only thing that mattered now was marrying David and continuing her life of indulgence. The day of their engagement drew near. As the family followed David out for a dinner, Jenny found in his car letters signed, Mr. and Mrs. David, addressed to a home not far from hers. No wonder there had been so many encounters. No wonder so many coincidences. At last Jenny understood. She had long been the prey David had chosen, led step by step into his snare, willingly surrendering both body and heart. And now, even her education, as Jenny wept, makeup smeared, David remained calm. He said his marriage was broken, that he could divorce at any time, but never gave her a definite answer. Jenny refused to hear his empty words. She demanded David explain to his parents and then speak of divorce to his wife, but she waited in vain. All she saw was David's figure walking away. The scoundrel lacked even the most basic responsibility. Clinging to her last shred of hope, Jenny went to David's home. She had not yet spoken a word when David's wife already understood her purpose. Clearly, Jenny was not the first girl to appear at her door. She looked at Jenny with pity, gently asking if she was pregnant. Unable to face the truth, Jenny returned home in anguish. Her father wanted to confront David, but Jenny felt it was pointless, for it had been he who once urged her toward David. Her father was full of remorse. He apologized, hoping she would forgive and begin anew. After tears, Jenny regained some strength. She asked the headmistress for readmission, but was refused. With no choice, she turned to the teacher who had once valued her. Seeing the teacher's refined home and cultured pursuits, Jenny realized how foolish she had been. Everything she desired had to be earned by herself. Her teacher, hearing the plea, was overjoyed, for she had always waited for the lost lamb to return. After a year of hard study, Jenny entered Oxford. She forgave her parents and found a boyfriend her own age. Her face still bore innocence, but never again naivete. Her boyfriend asked if she wanted to see Paris. Jenny smiled and agreed, as if she had never been there before. The film is adapted from the memoir of a British journalist entitled An Education. It speaks not only of the heroine's emotional lessons at adulthood's threshold, but also of family's role in reshaping thought and reflection. To awaken from a dream of vanity and return to life. To rediscover the will to rise, that, too, is precious.